I think I'm hot. Is mine hot? I hope it is, because it's like I just realized I don't know if I'm hot or not. Well, that did not sound right, but we're just gonna roll with it. Let me see real quick. Are we live? Yeah, we're live. Cool. Okay, we are live. Awesome, sweet. So, for everybody that's watching, welcome to Get Bit, the podcast for blurs, by blurs, and nerds to enjoy. Of course, we go over everything in the world of pop culture, including video games, sci-fi, cosplay, television, and movies. And this week is going to be no exception. So it says mostly going to be a review of some games that have just recently came out, as well as some movie news and a little bit more after that. So while I go ahead and get started, let's go ahead and get into this, guys. So I do have some reviews. We're going to start with Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, for all those who have been under a rock, it did release sometime this week. And if you don't remember, here's a trailer for it.
Look, I don't know if I'm ready to fly solo.
You gotta take the oath. I promise to do everything in my power to protect this city.
I promise. Whoa.
Qué guapo.
Gracias, mami.
Guys, I wanted to thank you. Both of you.
You need to lay low. Don't trust anybody, and don't take off that mask.
This message is for Roxxon. The underground will stop it.
They need you. Miles, what's the underground doing? They're after New Form. Tinkerer, stop!
Gotta say, I'm disappointed, bud.
Krieger.
You think you can beat the Tinker? Roxxon, you can't!
Every time I think I got this Spider-Man thing figured out, something goes wrong.
Miles, our family doesn't give up.
Whenever you say Spider-Man, you always mean the other one. You're Spider-Man. You can fix this. Your way.
This is my time. I'm seizing the moment cause I gotta go for the time's gone. Ain't scared of the dark cause I'm bringing the light when the night's gone. I shine on. I see it coming, I don't need a sign. Cause the moment I'ma make it mine. This is my time. My time now. My time.
And that was the trailer for Spider-Man Miles Morales. So let me go into this. I will not try to spoil this, just because, like I try to do for most games, since it's just only been out for a couple of days, not everybody has had the chance to play it, so we want to be respectful about it. So this is going to be a spoiler-free review. So let me go ahead and get into it. It is a beautiful game. I wasn't surprised. The same people that actually did Marvel Spider-Man were the same ones behind this, Insomniac Games, and it was beautiful. The only hiccup that I hope can actually be fixed, the only hiccup that I believe it can only be fixed with this game is a little bit patchy. Now, what I mean by that is, for all those, from the IT side of the game, what we mean by patchy, I mean the game will sometimes slow down because it's reached the end of its loading point. Kind of like how the old school PlayStation games used to be, where you had that long progress bar at the end, and then when it's finally filled up, the entire portion of what was loaded actually runs. Well, with the PS4, I did not notice that with the first Marvel Spider-Man game. However, at Miles Morales, it was a little bit patchy. The game sometimes had to stop and load itself. And I actually did that because I was testing that with a disk and also with the data download. So I did actually have a disk, and I tried it with the data download, and it seemed to be the same thing. So I would like to think that maybe Insomniac Games and PlayStation will actually fix that. It doesn't take away from the fact of the game. The story itself is very intriguing. If you like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is currently still on Netflix, I still find myself watching it because it's such an awesome movie. Morales being the Spider-Man that we know of from from Marvel 616 universe, and the fact that he does take on the role of Spider-Man covering Harlem. Now, I will say this, gameplay, easy to follow. It's definitely challenging. And like I said before, I'm trying to do this spoiler free. Because if you don't, I will say this, if you don't want to see the ending, please don't follow any walkthroughs that you see on YouTube or anywhere else, because they will give the ending. And like I said, I was going to give it a week or so before I actually get into it and say, you know, what I really liked, what I didn't like, and how the ending and where we're going from this. I will say this, just from playing it, my first playthrough was very quick. I will say this, because it's already been reported. Gameplay-wise, taking away from the DLCs and everything else from the original Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales is not as long as the original Marvel Spider-Man, only because I think they were really just focusing on his story. Now, not to say that the gameplay is going to be relatively short, it is decent. You're still looking at somewhere between 8 to 12 hours of gameplay. For most people, it's like, but you know, it's short. I understand, but again, when it's good storytelling and good gaming, it doesn't have to be very long. It doesn't have to be open-ended. That's the thing that a lot of people just simply don't get. However, with Miles Morales, like I said before, I like it. It is definitely worth the purchase if you hadn't already done so. And like I said, the only problem I saw with it, tech-wise, was it was just a little bit patchy, but I think that can be fixed with future updates. So, I will definitely give my seal of approval. If you have not played Miles Morales Spider-Man, you really need to. You will really enjoy it. That also being said, the other game that I'm going to be looking into, guys, is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I also did play. And if you don't know that one, here's a trailer for it.
They are heartless. Godless barbarians. They murder and kill blindly. They scar the lands of England. Lands they will never defend, never love. The time has come to speak to them in a language they will understand.
Somebody tell me. Answer if you can. Oh, somebody tell me.
Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I usually do follow up on trailers. I can watch Assassin's Creed trailers all day, but that's Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That is also a game that I'm currently playing, and like I said, we do follow the rule here on Git Bit. We do not give spoiler reviews while it's in its 4 or 5 days. We usually come back a week from now and actually give a review on it. So this is a spoiler-free review. Assassin's Creed Valhalla overall is awesome from what I've played so far. I have yet to beat it. Like most Assassin's Creed games, it is going to take you a while. But story-wise, because I think it's following the same logic as Origins and Odyssey did, and they're taking a different approach to Assassin's Creed. Valhalla is no different. Not to give away much of the story, but it does. If you're getting God of War vibes, that's how it's going to feel as far as the story goes. But I still love it as far as what you can do and the abilities, because what I have noticed is that every different attempt with Assassin's Creed brings a different way of fighting. You saw that in Odyssey, you saw it in Origins. You will also notice it in Valhalla with the way that you're learning to do certain things. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you everything because a lot of it's actually pretty cool. Like I said, it's a game that if you can finish Assassin's Creed, because I know there's going to be some speedrunners out there, but my thing is, if you can finish Assassin's Creed within a couple of days, you are the shit. I'm just going to be honest. You are truly much going to be the shit if you can actually finish Assassin's Creed Valhalla in a couple of days. I mean, you got to be playing for at least 12 hours nonstop. People have done that. But for me, I do it for the enjoyment. And like I said before, I saw no problems with Assassin's Creed. There was no slowdowns. There was no bug issues that I've yet to run into. It's been smooth. And honestly, as an Assassin's Creed fan, it's great. There's no other way I can put this. Now, of course, next week I do mean to make a point of this next week that I will go back into Miles Morales and Assassin's Creed Valhalla and actually go into the spoilers there, because after a week we can talk about it. Like I said, we're trying to be respectful and not spoil everybody else's experiences, because like I said, not everybody is able to get the games when they come out. And that's fine. We all got lives. We understand that. So, like I said, next week we'll definitely go into that. But again, my opinion, it is definitely worth buying. Now, the last game that I have, guys, that I also played, because we did have a new campaign on it. Some people might not be Destiny 2 fans. I am. I mean, it's a marriage. Destiny 2 is kind of like World of Warcraft. There's some things you love about it. There's some things you don't love about it. The same thing can be said about Diablo. But here's actually the trailer for the next campaign of Destiny 2 called Beyond Light. And then I'll explain, well, I should say I give my opinion on what I thought about it.
The light and dark ready themselves for a new phase. So must we.
The day we've been dreading has finally arrived. The darkness is here. We are deploying Guardians to all corners of the system to find answers.
I'm picking up a distress signal. Someone's in trouble.
My friends, we are all in great danger.
The Vanguard only recognizes the light. Someone has to do the same for the dark. Stasis is just a tool. We must use it for good.
This power is a gift. One I will share with all of you. One by one, we will rise again.
Only one truth: death.
Okay, so that was actually the trailer for Destiny 2 Beyond Light. Now, again, this was the next installment in the Destiny 2 franchise. Still kind of disappointed that we don't have Destiny 3. I mean, don't get me wrong, Destiny 2, Forsaken, then Shadowkeep. Beyond Light, I think, is now the third installment of the next part where Destiny 2 is going. Now that Bungie owns it completely. Again, this is spoiler free because it's only been out for now 5 days, so we're gonna definitely go into full review of it next week. But to go into a little bit of what they explained, yes, if you've been following Destiny 2, they did explain about the new subclass called Stasis, which is basically an ice subclass. Now, it does vary for each class you have. I mean, I'm partial to hunters and titans because I hate warlocks, but my Titan I stick with, of course, had the avalanche ability, which was still great that you can actually, cause a ice shockwave, or you can actually use it as a melee and things of that nature. Story-wise, it's intriguing. The downside of it is that it wasn't as immersive, I guess you could say, because I'm trying to find ways of not trying to spoil it versus trying to explain it. But like I said, it's immersive in some ways, and sometimes it draws you in, and sometimes it gives you the first, Destiny 1 vibes because of difficulty, because the difficulty was definitely up there, and in some ways you are going to be shocked. Also, with this Beyond Light update, when you go into the other portions like Gambit and Crucible and other areas, you will notice some things are missing, which we will go into more next week as we give our as we do our deep dive review into Beyond Light. I still think it's fun to play. I know some people see Destiny, it's like they keep rehashing the same thing with every campaign expansion. And in some ways I can agree, but I think that Beyond Light does show that Bungie does have the right direction about this, and I'm willing to go further on it. But like I said, it's still worth playing if you haven't already done that, especially because I still want to go into the Stranger and Eris Morn, and yet how Drifter all seem to be some chummy pals right now. But if you go back into it, each of them did talk about the darkness in their own way. But we will talk about that next week because, like I said, that's more of a deep dive that I want to go into. But overall, the 3 games that I actually did play this weekend, definitely awesome. All worth playing, in my opinion. And like I said, next week we will actually give a deep dive about it because at that point, we're going to definitely be full of spoilers. And speaking of spoilers for you guys, this week, who all got an Xbox Series X or Xbox Series S or PS5, hopefully you are enjoying them. Unfortunately, yours truly was not able to. Even though I did have a pre-order for a PS5, it did not work out. So, I mean, sad for me. But if you are one of those that just couldn't cash in on the pre-order, they couldn't cash in on the pre-orders, and you couldn't cash in on the sales when they first came up, then you might want to look at Walmart. Because Walmart, because of Black Friday, has already started to advertise when they will have a new shipment of PS5s and Xbox Series X's. Looks like it's going to be starting the day after Thanksgiving, so November 25th. And I'm going to be honest with you, good luck. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys, like I said before, these are next-gen systems. However, with these next-gen systems, Xbox One and PS4 are not going away. Most life cycles of consoles usually last about a decade or so, and we're not even in the year 5 or 6 of the Xbox One or the PS4 as of yet. So, for me, I mean, it would be nice to have, but at this point, most of the games I'm looking forward to, like Cyberpunk 2077, that's going to be available on PS4, which I pre-ordered for that. The only game that I really wish I wanted to play, but I know I can wait for, is Godfall. Because Outriders is still going to be on PS4. That seems to be no looter shooter. I'm curious to see what Godfall will look like on the PS5, but like I said, I can wait till next year because I have this rule about next-gen systems. The rule that I have is that I don't buy from the first batch. I truly believe, I mean, this is just a rule of thumb for me. I understand that, there are some individuals out there that have had consoles and have been completely and utterly fine. It's just for me as a rule of thumb, I always treat the first batch of next-gen systems like guinea pigs. And the second batch they put out was like, okay, we know what happened, but now we don't know, but now we can go ahead and fix it kind of thing. So, like I said before, if I wind up getting the PS5 and Xbox Series X next year, cool. I'll still be able to play the games because the games won't go anywhere. So it's just like I said before, it's more just waiting out to see what you get, because I'm sorry, if you're going to spend anywhere from $400 to $500, $600 on a next gen system, you want to make sure you are getting what you paid for. And I know the glorious PC master race out there is saying we don't have that problem. Yeah, but you still gotta wait on games. But I can't talk about them. I'm currently trying to build my machine. Well, it's sitting back there as parts are coming in. I can't wait to build it. And can't wait to actually. That's also another thing before I get into the movie news that I have here, guys. Is that yes, I did talk about this a few podcasts back. I am finally, hey, life happens. I'm finally getting to the process of where I'm going to build a custom Intel Mini ITX with AIO, or all-in-one cooling system. Basically, I just want to show it can be done, because I'm a computer guy, and for a lot of people to understand, it's very easy to build computers. You just have to follow instructions. And I want to show, hopefully very soon, once all the parts have came in, that I just want to show step by step in a very cut up video of what I did with the system and what I'm loading onto it and how I'm going to be using it, because it definitely will be a gaming platform. But I'm looking forward to that. So, aside from that, guys, let's go ahead and get into the movie news that I have here. Surprisingly, James Gunn is letting us all know that Sylvester Stallone will be in the Suicide Squad movie. Again, this was one of those gems that unfortunately Sylvester Stallone had turned around and put on his Instagram and immediately deleted it, because apparently it wasn't supposed to be released, but because James Gunn is James Gunn, decided to go ahead and let everybody know that yes, Sylvester Stallone will be on Suicide Squad, but they're not going to say what his role is. And I'm going to be honest, for all those that are wondering what Sylvester Stallone's got to do with movies, keep in mind he actually played as one of the original Guardians in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 during, had his little brief cameos at the beginning of the movie and at the end, where you saw that they were they were coming back to I forgot where Michael Rooker's character had died. Yondu had died, and they were there, of course, showing them all getting back together as the original Guardians of the Galaxy. So it'll be interesting to see where he will play in the Suicide Squad, or what the role will be. And keep in mind, he also announced that he's also working on the Peacemaker spinoff. Of course, who knew? Of all people playing Peacemaker, it'll be John Cena, and nobody have a problem with it. But he also will be on the spinoff for the Peacemaker role, in which stars John Cena. Again, they didn't say where his role was going to be, but I guess we're going to find out sometime next year when Suicide Squad is set for release on August 6th of 2021. Unfortunately, like I said, the year 2020 has been very cruel to us in so many ways. It has pushed back movies. It has pushed back anime. I don't know if I did not report this, but I'm going to report this again. Just like My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia, one of the more popular animes out there right now. They will not be releasing new episodes until sometime in April of 2021. Demon Slayer right now is still up in the air, considering that the movie is doing exceptionally well, but we still don't know about a season 2. That is still up in the air. So again, thanks 2020. You know what 2020 has also brought us? Zack Snyder. Oh, I cannot. Okay, first and foremost, he had some hits and misses. Okay, Watchmen, it's okay. Man of Steel, borderline decent. Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, should have never tried it. And then he tried to give us Justice League, which we all know the story. DC fans were letting us know how poorly Zack Snyder was doing. The WB execs cared about money, and they put him out midway of Justice League, only to have Josh Whedon come in and try to somehow janitor it a little bit. Which again, this led to Snyder fanboys out there saying, release the Snyder Cut. And yes, they did, or I should say they are trying to, just because, simple fact of the matter, that if you've been watching HBO Max or been watching any streaming series, that you'll notice that they are, well, especially with HBO Max, they are teasing that the Snyder Cut will be released on HBO Max's streaming services. When more news is coming out, because apparently we're finding out this on a daily basis, that originally Jared Leto's Joker was not supposed to be a part of the cut. I personally think the man got a bad rep. Now, was he a Joker that everybody liked? Of course not. It was effing terrible. But it could be. But, everybody say, well, they didn't include this or they didn't include that. I just think that it was just not needed. We did not need the Joker from the new DC 50. I think we could have actually done without a Joker reference or movie, just because we need something else. There are other villains in the DC universe you can use. However, of course, it seems like Jared Leto will be in this one as well as a Robin teaser. Because for anybody that doesn't remember, in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, they did actually show Batman where he did show Robin's costume, and it had, of course, and spray painted the "Joke's on You." And so, of course, that's why I said I had another issue with this, was because with Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, it fast forwarded. So we didn't really get to see, it fast forwards to the point to where Robin has died, which means a death in the family has occurred, and it led us to a universe that literally was messed up from Jump Street. So you can tell the storytelling was going to be back and forth all over the place. So what they're actually saying in this article that I'm showing, that I showed briefly here, that they're trying to say that they're trying to introduce somehow of a Robin storyline here. And I'm just thinking to myself, I don't get it. It to me, it's almost like you killed off Robin, you realize it was a bad idea, and now you're trying to come back and include him into this. I don't get it. Either he's dead or he stays dead, or you're trying to do a flashback movie. But either way, you Snyder fanboys, you know what I'm going to sit there and say? I'm going to sit there and say, like I've been saying, y'all have been wanting this so badly. I hope, for your sakes, it does well. But like I said, here at Git Bit, we will give it its fair shake. We will review the Snyder Cut when it comes out on HBO Max, and let you guys know if we're right or if we're right or they're vindicated. But speaking of that, The Mandalorian did also have another episode this Friday, and it was fire. Now I will say this: if you haven't seen The Mandalorian, you should. It's actually one of the better shows on Disney Plus. At the same time, episode 3 really did show a different faction. Like I said, I'm not going to go into it right now. But I will say it did lead some spoilers. And at the same time, it did lead to what we believe was going to happen to Mandalorian, because a certain name was dropped. I'm not going to say that name, but like I said, if you want to know, because I'm trying to actually, because I'll be honest with you, my knowledge of the Mandalorian in the Star Wars universe is very limited, so I actually have to go back and do some reading, because they said a name, and I'm just like, it's almost like you understand it's important, but you're not really sure if it's important. So I kind of felt that way of saying, okay, I need to go back and do some research on this, because everybody that I know that heard that name lost their shit. So that's why I was like, okay, I need to go back and go see why everybody lost their shit. But again, Mandalorian season 2, episode 3 was definitely great. And finally, Baby Yoda wasn't klepto. Another movie which I wish they would take back, but unfortunately, well, there actually might be a remake of the Short Circuit movie. Now, anybody who was a kid of the late 80s, early 90s, who remember Short Circuit and Johnny Five, it is one of those movies that, it was set for the time that it was in. It was late 80s, early 90s. It was great. It was funny. It was for its time. I did not think that on God's green earth, we would try to bring a remake back, even though Hollywood is full of remakes, and yet they are trying their hardest to see if this is possible. Even more so that they're trying to make it a Latinx, which means they're trying to direct it toward a long line of a sci-fi comedy with Latino elements in it, or Latinx elements in it. I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if it's possible to do that. Don't get me wrong. For all those that have never seen Short Circuit, go back and go watch the 1986 version. It was stupid, it was goofy, it was for its time. I'm not sure how you can make that work right now. I'm not sure if you can or if you can't. I'm almost certain that you shouldn't. It's almost like, you know what it is? It is almost like if Marvel decided to do Howard the Duck. Now, for all those that don't remember Howard the Duck, keep in mind, Howard the Duck, because I remember watching Howard the Duck on beta videos. Now, anybody doesn't remember, if you remember beta videos, you and me are in the same age bracket. But Howard the Duck, imagine if they try to do Howard the Duck right now, in this day and age. And I mean the whole thing. I mean the bedroom scene. I mean everything from top to bottom. Do you honestly believe that that would fly? That's like making Blazing Saddles again in this day and age. Mel Brooks would have a heart attack trying to make everybody happy. That's just what I'm saying. But again, they're talking about doing a reboot, and I'm sorry, Hollywood, we are rebooted out. It is time now for some original ideas, don't you think? Especially the fact of the matter is, like that Scream reboot. I'm not even going to talk about that. Like, why a Scream of all movies? I didn't think Scream was that good. For it to make 5 movies from Scream, why? It's like Sharknado to me. It is literally like saying, why in the world do we need Scream? In the same sense, why do we need a Scream reboot? Why do we need and trust me, if Scream is successful, I know what you did last summer is on plate. Let's just be honest. It's on deck. But Short Circuit, I'm just like, come on, man. Short Circuit of all movies, I like it, but I liked it back in 1986. I really did. But moving on, the last bit of movie news I got, guys, is, of course, Constantine. Now, of course, the article has nothing to do with the news that I have. So Constantine, they are talking about making a sequel to Constantine. And that was the, I want to say 2005 movie, which Keanu Reeves was in. I thought it was very well done for Constantine. And again, they are actually talking about doing a sequel to it. Now, for all those that don't know about Constantine, he actually is a part of, let's see, what comics was that? He actually was a part of DC/variant comics called Hellblazer. Now, Hellblazer is actually the name of the comic. Constantine is actually the character, in which, of course, back then, they actually sold the movie rights to, and of course, got the Constantine movie. Now, I always loved it, especially the guy who actually played the devil in the movie. I thought it was very well done. So I think that, plus, of course, with Keanu Reeves right now, getting geared up to do the final John Wick movie of Chapter 4. We hope. We don't know if that's the end or not. Because if you've seen John Wick Chapter 3, I have it. I love it. It was going to lead to a Chapter 4. I'm not sure if they're going to do a chapter after Chapter 5 after that. But every John Wick movie that's been out has been awesome. Which makes me wonder, between John Wick, the reboot of The Matrix, we might not see this Constantine movie at least until 2022 or 2023, just for filming. Because keep in mind, we are still actually dealing with COVID. So a lot of the stuff that we're actually dealing with, filming wise, things of that nature, may take longer to occur. But I do like the fact that they are greenlighting this as far as it happening. Because like I said, love Constantine, and there's so much they can go into. Now, they could go with the Justice League. They could go with Justice League Dark and actually go that storyline, including Zatanna, including Circus Boy. I could keep going down the line as far as that goes with that lineup if they choose to do it. It'll just be interesting to see where they go with it personally. What'd you guys say? I wish DC would do better. Yeah, we all wish DC would do better. Hey, MC, how's it going, man? It just kept coming back. I still need to watch it. Yes, you still need to watch John Wick Chapter 3. It is awesome. But aside from that, guys, not really much else in the way we got to show. Ain't much in the way of anything else. Like I said before, this was pretty much just my video game reviews. Spoiler free, mind you, because we are going to bring those same 3 games up next Sunday and actually give spoiler warnings and things of that nature. I plan to be done with Valhalla by then. Like I said, if you can play an Assassin's Creed game in less than 48 hours and beat it, especially a game of that size, you the truth. I'm not. I gotta sleep. So, with that being said, guys, that's really all that I have here. So, thank you all for watching This Is That Nature. Just gotta do some shameless plugging before I do get out of here. I am not the only cat that has podcasts. I'll actually talk about my buddy, Big BZA Dot, this gentleman right here. And if you're friends with him, if you are, go to his videos. If you're not, friend him. He's friendly. So definitely go to his videos, and you're going to be able to see the podcast that he does that I'm about to talk about very briefly. The first one I'm going to talk about is the VSTs, or the intercasts, as you will. Because Vaughn, like me, is a big-ass kid. I mean, we are grown men. We handle our responsibilities. But hey, we're still kids at heart. So we do like doing certain things, like, spending buku bucks of money on things like video games, things of that nature. And that's what he talks about in his VSTs. He talks about video games. He talks about music. He talks about movies. He talks about trailers. Trailers especially, because why I call him the king of weird trailers. Because trust me, there are weird trailers out there that just defy imagination, and yet he is the guy that can find them. But his show is definitely interactive, as you can see on mine, where I've commented multiple times. So you definitely can interact with him. His other show that he has is called Random as Fuck. What is Random as Fuck? Random as Fuck is the pool of ratchets we sometimes dip our toes into to take a break from life and have a chuckle. Now, as you can see, he does all his shows to a certain theme. In this case, it was Fuck Donald Trump. And trust me, Donald Trump is actually #1 on iTunes right now. But what he does around his fuck is, like I said before, he shows videos according to a theme. And some of those videos can be funny, some of those videos can be messed up, much like Trump supporters sitting outside an election office praying for them to count the votes. Yes, that actually did happen. But he covers it to basically reset your weeks on Tuesday. So definitely look out for him on Tuesday to start his live broadcast there. And as you can see, it's also interactive. His other show that he has is called Rhythm Is Your Minutes of the Rhythm, which we will get back to, hopefully being scheduled very soon. What is Rhythmness? Vaughn is a music connoisseur. I am also a music connoisseur, but he likes to bring people together and actually listen to albums for, briefly 10 15 seconds, because you don't know in about 10 or 15 seconds whether or not you like the music or not. And in his case, we always do it to a grading system, see if we like it, if we don't like it, and things of that nature. Like I said, we're not musical critics, just connoisseurs of the musical arts, if you will. And also, his show is also very interactive as well as There Goes. And finally, he does have another show called Funkin' Around, as I like to call it, his Musical Genius Podcast. Now, what he does on this is very simple. He actually makes beats. And as you can tell from his setup, he is a genius as far as making up beats, and he wants to show the process how he gets to that. Because the beats are his babies, and he wants to show how the babies are made. Because as he says about his room, this room is the LA Forum, because this is where the magic happens. Too soon? Too soon? Okay, I'll show myself out. But anyway, he calls it Funkin' Around, in which he actually does funk around and actually makes beats. And like I said before, if you're a beat maker or just want to see how the process is done, he definitely does show that. So you can always like, share, and subscribe all of his videos, which can be found under his Facebook page at BigBZA. Of course, go to his videos, then go to his videos, and you'll be able to see every podcast that he's done thus far. Now, as for me, guys, I do have a few podcasts of my own. I will start with the first one, my Burned Out podcast, every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m., because it is a storytelling podcast in which I tell stories about my occupation, because I am an IT person, in which I tell interesting stories about people, hopefully meant to be funny, because if you find them funny, that's great. And if you don't find it funny, then maybe you need to lighten up, because I'm probably talking about you. But it's always therapeutic because it helps me get out the stress about my day and makes you chuckle a little bit. And of course, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon is the How the Frack We Got Here podcast. That is my weekly U.S. news and local news podcast, in which we go over everything in the world that Dorito has burned down or is trying to burn down. I have really got to change that catchphrase now, because come January 20th, he's got his eviction papers. We'll find a new catchphrase by then. But we do talk about the world, and actually the whole point of How the Frack We Got Here is to not persuade you, not try to change your perception on life. We are simply doing this little thing called giving you facts and then just allowing you to make up your mind for yourself. Of course, later on in that evening of Saturday between 8 and 10 p.m. is the Off Limits Podcast, the podcast that goes there, the podcast that literally has no limits, because we really don't. We will talk about anything and everything. And I do mean anything and everything. Why? Because the only way to be progressive is to be comfortable with situations that most people would actually dare gawk at. And we do not gawk. We bask. We bask in the uncomfortableness, because that's how you become comfortable. And of course, every Sunday, as you're seeing right now, between 7 and 9 p.m. is the Git Bit Podcast that you're currently seeing, which actually, if you actually look at the link at the bottom right here, I'm talking about that link down there, will take you to the Git Bit Podcast on YouTube, to where you'll be able to like, share, and subscribe. And of course, Git Bit does have a page here on Facebook, as do all my other shows. So, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can look them up by their names. You can look them up by typing in the Burned Out Podcast, How the Frack We Got Here, the Off Limits Podcast, and Git Bit, that is GITBIT, and you'll be able to see every podcast I've done on Facebook or YouTube. We're still trying to work out Instagram. But aside from that, guys, like I said before, that's really all that I have. I do thank you all for watching, for poking your heads in, for liking, sharing, subscribing, starting watch parties. I certainly appreciate that. And if you like what I did, please let me know. If you didn't like what I did, please let me know. Like I said, I just want to know what everybody's opinion is on the stuff I'm doing, because this is fun for me. I just want to make it fun for you. Aside from that, guys, COVID-19 is real. Please wear a mask. Please be safe. Do social distancing. Don't go to large crowds. If you're sick, isolated. If you're really sick, please go to the ER and get the help that you need. Thank doctors, nurses aid, doctors aides, those that you see working in hospitals, because they certainly deserve it. And also thank you and be nice to essential workers. I'm talking about those that are truck drivers, gas station workers, grocery store workers, those that work in retail, those that actually work in warehouses like Amazon, and those that work in logistics like United States Postal Service, UPS, FedEx, and DHL. Just be nice. It is not that hard, because you may have had the decision to work from home, and that's great, but they made a decision to come in and continue working for the rest of us to be comfortable at home with the lights still on. So, with that being said, guys, I do thank you for watching as we gear up for another wonderful Monday. I know I am, because that's when work starts again, but we're gonna get through it. Hope you did enjoy it. And like I said, if you watch this live, I thank you for commenting, and if you're watching this in the playback, please comment as if it's live. I want to know your opinions. But I'm out, guys, for Git Bit. I've been Will. Hopefully this has been fun for you. I know it has been fun for me. Peace.